pretty hard recently on love and what it means to love someone, and just kind of like epiphanies that I've had that have really solidified my mindset and my view on love. And most of this is through experience, and I am in the most healthy relationship I've ever been in. Not to say that there's no conflict or that it's not ever hard, because it is. It's a relationship, it takes work. But it is like very, very different from other ones that I've experienced. And so it's been me kind of reflecting on how my relationship is now versus how it's been with other people, and how I thought I knew love at the time, but now seeing it in such a real and raw way, just kind of the difference. And so I guess it's just things that I've been learning that have really been impactful to me. So let me know. Sorry if you ever see red lipstick. I'm sorry. I'm also like, anyways. Let me know if you guys have any comments on what I'm saying, anything to add, or your own love advice. I'm not the all-knowing love guru or anything, but I feel like I've learned some things. So the first thing that I have learned that is so important. So the first one is a two-parter, and that is both people have to want it equally, or close to equally. I feel like that's the only way that something is going to work. And if you feel like you are getting the short end of the straw, you are. If you feel like you're putting everything into this person, into the relationship, and you're feeling like just this weird gut thing that they're not as into it as you are, they're not. If you're getting just the vibes that like this person is not putting in the same effort, like that's for a reason. But that reason, this is the part two, that reason is not you. It is not based anything on your worth, or like I think in my relationships, I was very, very focused on what I could have done to make that person stay, because if I had been better, they wouldn't have left, right? In all of my like official relationships, I was always the one that was broken up with. And so I experienced that a lot, where I would give everything that I was, every like bit of love that I possibly had to give. I was giving that, and I was doing my best. And that's not to say that I did not have flaws or things to work on, but I felt like I was giving everything that I possibly could, and it still wasn't enough, because that person decided not to stay. They did not want it as much as me. And specifically in my last official relationship, that's the one I was thinking of mostly. He would say all the right things and do all the right things, and plan our future together, and all these things, but his efforts and his actions were not congruent with what he was saying, with how he was expressing how much he loved me and the future he wanted with me. And eventually he broke up with me pretty suddenly, and it came down to a couple things, but one of them boiling down to just he did not want it as much as I did. And I absolutely blamed myself and my mental illnesses specifically, because I dealt with really, really bad anxiety and depression at the time. I mean, I still do, lol. But it was like really, really prominent. I had a lot of unhealed trauma, and I kept telling myself, like, if I had been better, if I didn't have this illness, if this was different, if I had done more, given myself more, then he would have stayed. But it was never on me. It was never my fault that he left, that was on him. He decided he didn't want it or couldn't handle it. if someone doesn't want it as much as you do. It's hard, but it is not your fault. And that comes to my next point, that love is a choice and love is a verb. Love is a feeling first, but then it is a choice, and sometimes it is both. But typically in my relationships, they would say all these things, do all these things. It was like super romantic and honeymoon phase-esque, you know. But there came a choice when the feeling wears off and conflict happens, or you start realizing, oh, this person's not perfect. Imagine, right? A human being flawed, a human having struggles, a human having baggage. Crazy, right? So anyways, there would come a point in the relationship, and in everyone's relationship, where feeling just isn't enough to carry the relationship. From that point on, it is a choice, and you have to say, when you reach that fork in the road, am I going to choose to leave because I don't want to put in the work, because I don't feel like it, I don't feel love? Or am I going to choose to love them, even though, like, we're arguing, or even though, you know, we're in this conflict or this struggle, or even sometimes, you know, the feeling wears off and we kind of hit this plateau when the endorphins and the serotonin and oxytocin like just kind of disappear, which, by the way, totally normal to sometimes feel like close to nothing at all. That can happen, and you're not crazy for feeling that way. Love kind of ebbs and flows, but you choose to either leave when it gets hard, when something like that happens, or you choose to stay and love them anyway, to be patient anyway, to be kind anyway, to love them how they need to be loved in that moment anyway, despite what you're feeling or lack of what you're feeling. Because if we only ever loved someone when we felt like it, there would be a lot of times we wouldn't love people, right? You know, when we get in arguments, we'd stop loving them. And so for me, that was huge, because there were these people that were loving me, and I do believe that they loved me, but they loved me as the feeling. They did not love me as the verb. And it became abundantly clear after, like, we broke up, that it was like, oh, you know, they actually were really selfish, and, you know, they did this that really hurt me, and they weren't sorry about it. They were just sorry they got caught, you know, that type of vibe. And being in this relationship now, there have been so many opportunities where my boyfriend could have left, because it was very hard, and we actually broke up twice. And so this most recent time that we have, you know, committed to each other, there's been a huge 180, because something like clicked, I think, for both of us, in like loving each other, not just like looking past, you know, our flaws or our struggles or our traumas, but loving through that. And I don't want to like jinx it and be like, it'll last forever. I hope it does, and I believe it will, but you know, now that I'm in that, I have seen the opportunity, the fork in the road multiple times, and he still chooses me every time. And he chooses me when it's hard. He chooses me when he does not feel like loving me. I choose him when I don't always feel like it. I mean, I feel like it, but I don't. It's, you know, that difficult, like, you're in conflict is usually like if we're like arguing or something, and we're both type 4 Enneagrams, so we're both very emotional people, so sometimes it's like, when emotions take over, it can be very difficult sometimes to just like be level-headed about things. But anyways, sorry, my dog just like ran into the door. But that distracted me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so both chosen to love each other, and that is the testament of two people wanting it equally, because when you both want it relatively equally, you both fight for it, you both choose to love, even when it's hard, even when you feel unlovable, or they feel like really difficult to be with at that moment, or they're like really annoying you or something. You know that the foundation that you have and the foundation that you're building is worth it, and you're committing to loving them, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard, because if we just loved when it was easy, everyone would love each other, and there would be no issues. But loving really counts when it's hard, because that to me is love, overcoming the obstacles and pushing through anyway. And again, loving somebody not in spite of, but through, what's happening. And on that note of kind of like loving someone through something that I learned that was really eye-opening for me is that if you are somebody who has had like trauma or baggage or just things that have hurt you in the past, a sign that it is a good relationship and that you are actually feeling very safe and it's good is an increase in anxiety and triggers and kind of like flashbacks of things that, whatever it is you're struggling with. And I say this because you are in a place where maybe it's something you've repressed for a while, where you feel safe. You feel safe and safe enough to be vulnerable and to process those emotions with someone that you feel safe with in a very safe and controlled space where you feel loved. And something very, 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 very important to note here is that you are not triggered by them and their actions, but you are triggered by their reactions. So something that I'll give kind of an example is I was talking to my boyfriend about like being abandoned and like unloved, specifically in the context of relationships, like romantic relationships, since I did have everybody break up with me, and just kind of like being emotional about that. It was very, very real for me, because I felt like it was my fault. I felt like I had done everything wrong. I felt like I wasn't enough. I should have been better. My mental illness would make me so unlovable. I had people literally tell me that I was going to be hard to love because of my illnesses. And so I was talking about that, and it was like really triggering, because he was so sweet about it, and he was telling me, you are not your anxiety. Those people who left you, like, that was them, that was not you. And so I was not triggered by him being a jerk or him also like leaving me, like it was not his actions that triggered me, but it was his reaction, how he responded. He responded so differently and in such a safe way for me. Or I was telling him something kind of like my childhood that was really hard for me, and I don't know like where it came from, but I guess my subconscious, like, I felt safe enough to talk to him about it because I started like crying, and he just like held me and was so sweet about everything. And it was like his reaction that made me triggered. And so if you are getting triggered by your past things because of something they're saying and doing, like, specifically, that is like, if someone used to like gaslight you all the time and they're gaslighting you now, that is not a healthy relationship. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that when you feel fully safe with somebody, like, a good love can be very triggering at first, because you're finally able to talk about these things and all these repressed emotions can come out in a safe environment. So yeah, his reaction, or her, their reaction, not their action, is triggering to you. That can be a really good sign that you're in safe and healthy relationship. Of course, that's not the only indicator that you're in a good relationship or a bad one, but that's just something that I learned because I had never been so triggered in my life with, different things that I've gone through, things that I, like, forgot about. All of a sudden, I was, like, kind of a mess, and it's gotten a little bit better, but, like, dang, I was tripping for sure, and, it was because I finally felt safe, and when I expressed these feelings, I felt heard and I felt valued, and so it just made me want to do it more and feel safe to be open about it next time. And then another thing that I've learned is how important it is to love someone in their love language, not yours. I'm very fortunate that my boyfriend and I, for the most part, have the same love language. We both are really, really big on physical touch, and like words of affirmation and quality time are our top love languages, and so we're able to really love each other that way, and we both feel loved. But sometimes we have to do things that feel unnatural to us, like if someone is not super big into physical touch, but your partner is into physical touch, sometimes it can feel weird for us to be like, well, I don't feel loved when someone like touches my shoulder or gives me a hug or is physically next to me. I don't really feel loved that way. Like, that's just normal, whatever. But to that person, that is how they feel valued, and that is how they feel special. And so we have to get out of our comfort zones and recognize, okay, well, this person feels most loved when, they get to physically like touch me or be around me, just a tap on the shoulder or something, like even so simple as that, or holding your hand, can be really, really meaningful. And so learning what your partner's love language is and then applying that, I've definitely had moments where I think that this one thing I'm saying or doing is gonna like blow my boyfriend's mind, and he'll be like, oh wow, I feel so loved. And I've gotten like another hard pill to swallow. He was like, when you say that, it actually makes me feel like this. I don't feel super loved. I would prefer if you did something like this. Like, you can still do what you're doing, but just know that it doesn't really do much for me. And in my head, I was like a little offended because I was like, well, I'm showing you love. And it like clicks, and I'm like, okay, well, that's how I feel loved, and I would be loved if someone did that for me. But he's expressing that that's not the case for him, and it's not that he doesn't appreciate it, but it just isn't how he feels the love. So it's really, really important to kind of communicate that and know that with the other person and with yourself, and just like speak up for yourself and let them know what your needs are, what your desires are. Something that's been big for me that I've been telling my boyfriend a lot is I have a lot of anxiety and I struggle with emotional permanence, meaning that, so physical permanence is like when my hand is in the screen, you see it, you know it is there, you believe it 100%, but as soon as it gets out of the screen, it's not there. You don't know it's there, you're not, like, it doesn't exist to you. That happens a lot with babies when they're first developing, and as you get older, you start realizing, okay, my hand is out of the screen, my hand is still there though. Emotional permanence is that, but with emotions. And so if somebody says I love you and they're physically with me, I 100% believe it, and I feel so good about it, but as soon as they're gone, as soon as they go to bed or something, I start second guessing. Not like a complete, they don't love me, I know they don't love me, but just this kind of like anxiety of like, well, wait, but they didn't tell me good night. Like, are they mad at me? Once it's out of the screen, so to speak, it's hard for me to believe that they still love me even when they haven't said it in the last hour. And so something that I have brought up is it makes me feel very loved and very secure because I struggle with that. Just some extra reassurance every now and then, like, I know that you love me, but sometimes I just want to hear it, like, throughout the day, like, hey, thinking of you. It doesn't have to be more than that. Or good morning texts and good night texts makes such a huge difference for me, and it really like calms my anxiety. And I mean, that is something that I want to get better at, and not have to rely on that to emotionally regulate. I don't So my boyfriend and I really, really try to listen to one another in how can we feel more loved, how can we feel heard, how can we both feel valued, how can we argue in a productive and kind way, how do you feel loved in conflict. One thing that I feel loved, or like I kind of need, is during an argument or after an argument, I need to hear like, I love you, kind of at the end of it, or in the beginning even, like, hey, I'm gonna bring something up, because I have like major anxiety, and like with the whole thing of like being left multiple times, it kind of like sticks with you even when you don't want it to sometimes, and it kind of comes up uncomfortably, and again, working on it, but I'm not perfect. In the start of a conflict, be like, hey, just so you know, I'm not leaving you, I'm not breaking up or anything like that, I just wanted to bring this to your attention because this one thing that you did hurt me, or something like that. Like, can we talk about it so we can, get on the same page? Communicating like that is so helpful for me, and I would really recommend just knowing your partner, knowing their love language, knowing your own, and communicating those, and kind of hold each other accountable. It's not an expectation like you must love me this way, but hopefully if you're communicating it and you both want to really be on the same page, they'll at least like make an effort and listen, at least a little bit. Those are kind of the main things that I was thinking of with love, and yeah, it's been crazy now being in a relationship and being like, okay, so this is love. What I had before, I feel like I loved people decently, but it's not the same. There was a lot of feeling, and there wasn't a lot of choice. There was some, but like when I love really hard and I go full force, and it's like, that's it. But the way that I was perceiving love was completely different, and I didn't know that. Like, I love people, but for what I knew love was. And after being in this relationship, it's like just seeing how much love perseveres, and love pursues, and love initiates, and love does not give up, and love is always looking for ways to love even more, and to grow deeper and more connected. It is not something that stays stagnant. It is not something that you can just do once and then like it just like stops. Like, love is ongoing, but it does ebb and it flows. But there is still that feeling of like, okay, this is my best friend. This is what I want. I just want to like be with them, and I want to cheer them on, and any conflict that we have is worth the risk. It's worth whatever we're going through, because the love that we have can't be denied, and it can't be, what's the right word? It can't be curbed. If it's love, you can't stop it. It's something that my dad said that was really interesting. When my boyfriend and I broke up, I don't know if it was the first or the second time, but he told me, and just like a disclaimer, not everybody's story is going to be like this. People break up for a myriad of different reasons, and some of it is genuinely like, you shouldn't be together because of this or because of that, or you have different values, or I don't know, something like that. there's, cheating. I don't know. There's so many reasons. But for me, my dad said, I'm sorry you're going through this. But if it's true love, he won't stay away. Or he won't be able to stay away. He'll be back. And he came back twice. It was no matter how many times we broke up, every obstacle that we were having to overcome, we loved each other, and any excuse that we had started to fade, because if it's true love, it can't be denied, it can't be curbed, it is explosive in the sense, not bad explosive, but explosive bursting, it just can't be stopped. It's overflowing, it is overwhelming, it is all consuming, and if you truly, truly love that person and extenuating circumstances aren't in the picture, it's really, really hard to give up on love like that. If both people, again, two people have to be into it, but if both people love each other as much as they do, and it's love, I guess maybe there's some instances where it's healthier for the two of you or something to not be together, or one of you is I don't know, I'm sure there's always, okay, there's always, not excuses, that's what I'm looking for, there's always exceptions, that's one. There's always exceptions, and my story is different than yours, and that's okay. I don't know everything, but at least the way that I see it, because I went through that twice, and we both still loved each other and tried breaking up, it wasn't happening. We tried to stop loving each other, and it didn't happen, and so we're together, and it's been really good. So yeah, I don't know, that was a little bit of a ramble, but I hope that it was still good for you and that you enjoyed it. Yeah. That's all I have. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or night, or whatever time of day it is. But remember that you are loved, you're worth it, and you're valued, and you deserve love. Do not settle for anything less than what you genuinely deserve, because you have so much to offer, and it's not just about offering something. You don't just deserve to be loved because of what you can give. You deserve to be loved because of who you are, and because that's incredible. You're incredible, and you are a light, and anybody would be lucky to have you in their life. It's not just a matter of what you can do for someone that makes you lovable or deserving of it. No. If you're alive, guess what? You should be loved. Okay. If we had more love in the world, would we even have evil? You know what I mean? We all just need more love. So go love somebody today how you think they would want to be loved. Go call a friend. Go text the BF or GF or partner a quick little I love you. Send someone